Hey everyone, I'm back after a month to have a look at more one-page rules 3.5. We're going to have a chat about it now. Most of the general stuff I talked about in the original video is still pretty much accurate. And when I say original video, I mean the second video. So as far as general rule changes go, there's not much going on there. There has been a little tweaks here and there, but we'll talk about that in the actual army lists. So if you want to see my general sort of overview, go check out the other video. Now this is pure Vamps, so I may end up having some weird cuts because I might go on a rant or something like that, and I don't want to really cut that into the video. So if you see any weird cuts, it's just that I've gone on a rant and I've decided to cut it out because I tend to loop on myself. I suffer from OCD, so it's a problem. Anyway, the important thing is that we're going to be looking at Grimdark Future, not Age of Fantasy. We'll probably do a video on regiments at some point, but I'll do a review on regiments. If it happens to be 3.5 at that point, great. But otherwise, we're going to be looking at Grimdark Future. Now, you can apply some of this to Firefight, but I'm not touching on that one, though. Now, the other thing is that I just want to get a couple of general criticisms that I've sort of locked in on before we get stuck into the actual army lists. And so I've got two criticisms that I'm sort of a bit annoyed about. The first one is +1 morale as an army ability. No, no, sorry. I do not like this at all. I just feel that it's such a like nothing burger ability, right? This should be an upgrade that you can buy for a unit. It should be your choice whether or not you want +1 morale. Army-wide ability at +1 morale doesn't wet my whistle at all, and also it doesn't really feel like it's meant to be capturing something about the army that it's doing. I feel like it's such like, how +1 hit would be better, +1 defense would be better, and even then I feel like they're a little lame comparatively to some of the other abilities, but +1 morale, no, no, sorry. You're never going to convince me that that's a worthwhile army-wide ability for a group. Now, the other thing I want to bring up is that I feel like there's some abilities that have been doubled up a little bit too often in the overall army list, particularly Primal, aka Predator, as some people might know it. That gets used quite a fair bit in some of these army lists, and I find that very unsatisfying as well. Like, I feel like, yeah, sure, Saurian Starhost and having Primal, great, not a problem. Even though I do feel Primal is a bit of an ability myself, but, you know, like, that's my own personal opinion. If people like Primal, that's great. The only thing that Primal does is if you roll an additional 6 and you've got a rending weapon, then both shots are rending. That's the only advantage, but there's also a good chance, particularly with Saurians, that you just miss the next attack. Yep, so we'll get ready to go in these army lists. Now, I'm not going to be covering everything in hyper detail because we're going to do every army. So I'm going to be covering the army-wide ability, if they have a weapon army-wide ability, which most of them do, Spells are the other ones, the spell list, and also what their leaders are sort of capable of doing. We won't do every single leader in every army, but we'll just have a quick sticky beak at sort of what they bring to the table, basically. And one last thing, I haven't really played with Wormhole Demons by themselves. I have had them in Havoc. And I also haven't played Goblin Reclaimers yet because I just don't have anything to really represent them with. So I will touch on them. We will have a look at them, but it'll be purely a theoretical look at those guys, not an actual hands-on. Oh, and Titan Lords as well. That will also be theoretical. So yeah, let's have a sticky beak and let's get stuck in. Alright, so we're starting with Alien Hives. I've already got Alien Hives all ready to go. Yeah, I really felt these guys were fun. They had this really cool Hive Assault ability, which I thought was great, which was basically if you, rolled ones on your defense roll, you take an additional hit. Well, supposedly they didn't particularly like this, and they replaced it with Hive Bond. This model gets +1 morale test rolls. I mean, like, look, I'm not saying that Alien Hives don't sort of need something like this, but I also, it's like, it's not even vanilla ice cream, guys. It's unflavored ice cream of an ability. It's like, oh, well, I mean, I guess that's good. At least I have something. But it's like, oh, I'm not winning the game with this, though. Their special gun ability is Ravage, so Ravage ignores regenerations, and on unmodified rolls of 6 that aren't blocked, the weapon deals an extra wound. So Ravage sort of took a little bit of what Ravage was and what Hive Assault was, and then sort of rolled it in. So just to make it completely clear, if you roll a 6, say you've got your guy, you roll 6 attacks, you roll a 6, they then have to fail their defense roll, and then they get an additional wound. That's how that works. So, yeah, I mean, I don't dislike that. Ravage combined with Hive Assault was better, like Old Ravage and Old Hive Assault, but yeah, Old Ravage was kind of crazy, which was if you rolled a 6, you got 2 additional hits, so now it's just it deals an additional wound if it's not saved. So that's fine, not a problem there. I still think Hive Bond's crap. Sorry. Let's have a look at the spell list. So we got Terror Seeker. Pick an enemy unit with an 18. It gets marked with Unpredictable Fighter, basically. Which is, it rolls a dice, and on a 1 to a 3, it gets +1 AP. And on a 4 to a 6, it gets +1 to hit, I believe. Oh, sorry, that's your unit. Like, when your unit attacks the marked unit, you get the benefit from the mark, not the enemy. Then we got pick an enemy unit within 12, takes 2 hits with Ravage. You still roll your dice for those hits because on 6s it triggers the effect. Hive Bond Boost, which just it's +2 for morale for that particular check. So it's for the check. So it's not for the turn. It's until it's like a buff. It's like a mark on your own guys, which I think is just called a buff. And basically what that does is that when it goes to take a morale check, it gets +2 instead of +1. Enemy unit takes 2 hits with AP 4. Great. Grounded Stealth. Now, this one's actually kind of a little interesting. So pick 3 units. Basically what happens is that if you, I believe it's in terrain. So Grounded Stealth is basically stealth, but you've got to be in terrain to get it. And then the last one, of course, is pick 1 unit, takes 6 hits with Bane, which Bane is poison, so no ignores regeneration. Yep, and then on the roll of a 6 on defense, they got to re-roll it. So, you know, nothing too crazy. And we'll just have a look at the Prime Warrior here, because we'll get the idea of what these guys can do. So, you know, you got your pretty regular stuff, Hive Bond Boost Aura. So, you know, everyone in the army gets Hive Bond Boost permanently, in his unit. And then we've got the Rapid Charge Aura, +4 to charge. Rending Melee, that's pretty straightforward. Caster 2, and then a Relentless Aura, which Relentless is basically Old Devout from memory. Oh, okay, no, it's actually the reverse of Old Devout. The Old Devout, actually. So basically, if it shoots an enemy over 9 inches away, 6s, so it gets Surge, basically. 6s, double hit. Done. And then, yeah, you know, just its regular sort of stuff. Unpredictable Fighter pops up quite a bit in Alien Hive, which honestly I'm not a big fan of the unpredictable range of abilities. You know, I don't like going, oh, I really need +1 AP this turn to really put the hurt on someone and then have it roll, and it's like, oh, great, +1 to hit. Fantastic. That's exactly what I wanted. Battle Brothers, and yes, we're going to look at all of them. So let's start with the first set of Battle Brothers. So regular Battle Brothers, basically, yeah, they're pretty cool. Battleborn's a nice little ability. This ability actually pops up a bit, but it's different ranges and charges for different people. So Battleborn is basically +3 range when shooting and +3 inches when charging. So the idea is that they don't get additional move, but they sort of get the benefits of if they had additional move without the flexibility of having the additional move. So I think that's pretty cool. Their special weapon ability is, I believe, called Smash. Yep. So this is one of the more interesting ones. So ignores regeneration, pretty normal stuff, but against units where most models have defense 5 to 6 after any positive modifiers, the weapon gets blast 3. So basically, if you're fighting orcs, for example, and one of your guns has smash, it gets blast 3, which is pretty freaking cool, actually. I actually think that's a nifty ability, you know. So it's like, yeah, if they're fighting like crap guys, blast 3. So then we'll have a look at their spells. So we've got Get Strider, fantastic, you know. Unit takes smash hit. Evasive, so this is -1 to hit. Sometimes there's evasive to melee and evasive to shooting, and obviously they only affect the ones that they state. Then we got some Bane hits, and then we got this one, Unstoppable. Yeah, so Unstoppable was basically lock on, except it also, the wounds can't be prevented. So it sort of does do regeneration, but it ignores every form of regeneration, even like self-repair or something like that, which is kind of crazy. So it's a pretty strong attack. Mostly it's on missile launchers now. Obviously Battleborn obviously Battle Brothers have access to missile launchers, so that's not too crazy. And then versatile attack is something that will pop up. So versatile attack is unpredictable attack, but you actually get to choose which one you pick. All Battle Brother veterans get this ability, so that's nifty. I like that. Let's have a look at our brothers. So we got Shred in melee. So basically, Shred is if you roll a 1, you take an additional wound. So great. Steadfast. Now this one is a new ability. So Steadfast is a new ability. Basically, what happens is sort of like with Fearless. Fearless is if you fail your morale check, you may take another one, and you need a 4 or better. Steadfast is basically when your unit activates. If it's shaken, you roll the dice, and if you get a 4 or better, it's not shaken anymore and can activate normally. So that's actually, I think Steadfast is pretty cool. It does mean that Battle Brothers can get some, like, they're very, very hard to basically shut down or shaken now. They're not shaken. And then Rapid Rush, basically Rapid Charge, except it's an additional 6 inches when using rush actions. Keep in mind that's rush, not charge, because I know they're sort of lumped in together, but they are 2 separate actions. They just use the same idea. Bane when shooting, pretty straightforward. Caster 2 and 3, also straightforward. Mend is repair from the old edition, so basically, you pick a unit and it restores D3 plus 1 wounds to it. No, just D3. Just D3. It gains D3 back to it. And of course, they have to have tough. You can't restore D3 wounds to a unit that's just a group of guys. And that's mostly it on Battle Brothers, obviously. They all have Fearless still too, so that is also a faction-wide ability, which makes sense because they are kind of expensive. You don't really want them to be sitting on the board doing nothing except quaking their little power booties. So, yeah, that's pretty much it. Oh, and smashes on all their gravity weapons. I should probably mention that as well. I'll try to say which weapons have the special ability, but I might forget, so sorry about that. But that's regular Battle Brothers, and we should be able to fly through these other Battle Brothers because they're practically the same guys. They have slightly different spell. Some of them have slightly different spell lists, and other ones have obviously different faction-wide ability. So Blood Brothers. So Blood Brothers have Bloodborne. They're primal. It's Predator basically. I don't necessarily hate it for these guys because really, I mean, what else do you give them? Faction-wide Furious, maybe. I don't know. But yeah. So basically, it's primal. As I said, I'm not overly happy about that. I think they could come up with something better, but maybe they are. I don't know. Their special weapon ability is still Smash, so we don't need to cover that. Now, we do have slightly different things here. No, I mean, yeah, I think this one is slightly different. They take one. Well, yeah, so you pick one friendly unit within 12, and it gets +1 AP. So, basically whenever it needs its +1 AP, it uses it. Done. Other than that, it's pretty much Battle Brothers. Like, they don't really do much else. Near Shrouding I might bring up now. So the enemies get -6 to their movement when they're trying to charge, where all models have this rule. This will pop up quite a bit, so I thought I'd just cover it now. A Bloodmaster Brother. So melee Scourge aura, that's what they get. So when they charge, they get +1 AP. But otherwise, Blood Brothers are pretty much Saurian Starhost, but better, I guess. I suppose. Dark Brothers. So, Darkborn. So basically they have faction-wide Steadfast, which I do think is better than what they used to have. So, I'll give them that much. There's not really much else to say about this. Otherwise, they pretty much are similar to normal Battle Brothers. I don't even think they have particularly any massively different spells there. You know, pick one friendly unit within 12 and get Strider. I'm pretty sure that's one of the other ones. But yeah, so for the most part, their spell lists are pretty much the same. Some of them have slightly different names, but that's about it. As far as these guys go, yeah, I mean, they get Fear 3. So there's really not much to say about these guys either. Smash is still their thing. So each Battle Brother faction sort of has their own sort of particular thing that their leaders get access to as well. So once again, Smash, Nightborn is Aegis, except it's slightly worse. They got rid of Aegis on the whole. So basically, when they take a wound, 6+, it's ignored. If it was from a spell, it's 4+. I don't necessarily mind this nerf. 2+ spell ignoring was kind of like, ugh. Not to mention, with all the spell focus they've kind of got going on, I feel like Nightborn would be really strong at +2. So yeah, +4 I think is fair. You know, 50-50 shot to ignore a spell damage is still really good because you still get your regular save as well. You know, for most knights, it's like a 3+ on a lot of these attacks, and then they get an additional 4+ save on top of it. It's going to be hard to stack spell damage on these guys. Obviously, their spells are roughly the same. They do get Holy Warding, which is evasive to shooting, so -1 when they're shot at. Otherwise, yeah, pretty much most of their stuff is the same. Oh, they do have Doom Strike here. 3 hits with Blast 3, so that's up to 9 hits, yeah. Well, that is just 9 hits when the spell successfully casts. So that's not too bad. Let's have a look at our Knight Master Brother. So, Unpredictable Fighter Aura. I mean, I gotta say, if you're taking a veteran Knight Master and giving him this, it does mean that you get to pick a bonus and then also roll a random one. So you could end up with a, you know, +1 AP, +1 quality unit for close combat, or you could end up with +2 to hit or +2 AP. So, you know, it's probably the best use of Unpredictable Fighter. It's probably the best way to get screwed, really, because you're only getting half as screwed as you thought you're going to end up with. Because you just take the one that you want and then just eat the benefit, right? So yeah, that's. But I do think that's a bit of a. I do think that's a bit of a ability personally, but you know, whatever strikes your fancy. Watch Brothers. Let's have a look at these guys. So Watch Brothers. So they got Watchborn. Yeah. So basically, Watchborn have the versatile fighter ability there. So all of them have versatile fighter. Cool beans. That's fine. They still have Smash, of course. And then let's have a look at what these guys get. So, Evasive Aura. So -1 hit rolls across the board when trying to hit them. They can actually get quite a lot. They also get Near Shrouding Aura as well, and a Furious Aura. So yeah, so Watch Brothers. They've got a fair bit of flexibility, but they are still one of the smallest armies. They're definitely the smallest army of Battle Brothers. Let's have a look. Strider, Lightning Fog, Watch Sight, Psychic Terror. Yeah, so basically just this pretty much the stock standard Battle Brother spell list. That's fine. That's all good. Wolf Brothers have Wolfborn. So basically when you activate them, they can move 3 inches in their position. Obviously, Super Duper Wolfborn, whatever they want to call it, is 6 inches. They still have Smash. So they have Smash, their spells, so they get Furious, which is nice. Otherwise, it's pretty much the sort of same stuff, other than Storm of Power, so 6 hits with Surge, and then you roll the 6 dice, and at any 6s, you get additional hits. And we'll have with the Master Brother, so they get the Counterattack Aura. So Counterattack is back. It's back from outer space, and basically it only comes on their heroes, but it is an aura, so it does go on whatever unit that you put it on. I don't necessarily dislike this. I do think army-wide counterattack was kind of crazy on Wolf Brothers. I know that there are many of you out there howling at the moon, going, why did this happen to my Wolf Bros? They were so good at what they did. But that's exactly the point. They were really hard to figure out how to counter them, because you could charge in and end up on the shit end of something. And you know, for example, you can take a wolf like master brother basically, and give him close combat weapons with like, you know, a sort of boost to ranged combat. You could have him in a unit of ranged guys who just absolutely rip other units apart, and then if they try and get in close combat, your wolf brother with his insane whatever he's got, you know, just tears into them, and it's like, oh great, over half my unit's dead and I charged. Yeah, counterattack is crazy. So faction-wide counterattack is even crazier. You want your counterattack back? Well, we'll give it back to you, but, you know, yes, but, as they say. And that's not me saying yes to like a large ass. I mean, like, yes, but this is the caveat, basically. I'm all battle brothered out now. It's alright, we're going to wait several letters before we get back to Prime Brothers. Blessed Sisters, one of my favorite armies from regular 3rd edition. When I say that, I mean up to 3.4, obviously. I really like these chicks. They're great. They deal a lot of damage, so who doesn't like the Space Nuns, really? That being said, Devout is still their ability of choice, except Devout now is just when they're attacking. On a 6, they get an additional hit. Close combat, shooting from halfway across the map. Yes, that would include if you got a bunch of sister snipers, sniper sisters. That sounds good either way, actually. Just don't say the abbreviation. Oh man, if I was monetized, I would get demonetized in no time at all. Purge is still on there. Ignores regeneration against units where most models have defense 2 to defense 4. It gets +1 AP. It's on all their flamethrowers. Now, that being said, they don't get heavy flamethrowers anymore, but do they really need them? I mean, once you hit defense 5 and 6 guys, does it really matter if they're getting their regular defense rolls when they may be rolling, like, you know, 12 defensive dice, depending on who's hitting them? No, the +1 AP actually does come in handy against this defense range, so I'm actually fine with this. I actually think Purge is a good thing, and obviously with Devout, it's good too. I also think it gives these guys a bit more flexibility. I don't think they're quite as... It sounds really weird, but I don't think they're quite as bullshit as they once were, and I don't know why, because really they seem to have got a pretty decent buff across the board. But yeah, so super fun times. Let's have a look at their spells. So Deny the Heretic. So they pick an enemy cast with an 18, -2 to the cast rolls next time they go to cast a spell. +2 hits with AB2, Devout boost, of course, so you're double hitting on 5s and 6s. Take 4 hits with Purge, fantastic. All friendly 3 friendly units within 12 are all, can you imagine, all friendly units, Jesus Christ. 3 friendly units within 12, get +1 to hit in melee rolls next time it rolls around, and then just unit takes 9 hits. Let's have a look at what our sisters are bringing to the table here. So we've got the Fortified Aura. So Fortified is that, you know, -1 AP down to a minimum of 0. So you can't get better armor from minusing their AP. Shred and Melee, so they have Shred and Melee. Devout boost, of course. Devout boost. Now Ranged Scourge, we haven't come up against that yet, so we'll talk about Scourge very quickly. +1 against units when you're over... +1 AP when you're over 9 inches away from a unit. So, yeah, that's a nifty little ability. And then, of course, we've got Caster 2 and 3. So, that's all she really wrote on the Blessed Sisters. I still really enjoy playing these guys, honestly. They're fun. But yeah, I think weirdly enough, yeah, it sort of feels like they got buffed and nerfed at the same time. They got really nerfed on the first version of the rules, and now I'd say they roughly ended up where they are. They're just less consistent than they once were, I think is probably the best way to put it. Which is, as I said, a bit weird, but you know. Also, it means that you're not just taking buckets of flamethrowers, even though I'm still going to do that because I like the idea of it. But yeah, before this, you basically just took flamethrowers. That's all you took. Now you can take some other more varied units and still get the benefits from them. So, you know, army variation, great job. Okay, Custodians. Now, I've only played with these guys a couple times. Oh, Custodians. I really, 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 really want to like these guys because they're cool. I don't. I just always, I don't know. I think they're great as an extra unit, But they do stand on their own now, and they are a bit better. So let's have a quick sticky beak at them. So Guardian is nothing fancy. Guardian is basically -1 AP to a minimum of 0. Fantastic. You know, no real big complaints about that. Their special weapon ability is Tear. So where units have most models that have tough 3 to tough 9 in the unit, the weapon gets +4 AP. So yeah, whew. That can be a nasty little pasty there. I should probably also mention that there is something that the sisters get in this army. It's designate for piercing attacks. So before deployment begins, you pick as many units as you basically have units of sisters, and friendly units get +1 AP when attacking them. So it's kind of like a permanent mark. Designate is a permanent mark. So designate is around until that unit is dead. So that's actually pretty cool, and it also makes it so that sisters can be a viable option to take, because they weren't very good prior to this. I'd probably say I don't know why you'd take the sisters. Other than being cheap, of course, that's it. But now them taking up table space also gives you extra benefits as well. So I can't complain on that one. Let's have a look at their spell list. Cursed Round is pretty cool. Pick a unit within 18, an enemy. It gets -2 using Advance and Russian Charge. Advance, for those of you who may be not aware of the nomenclature, is just regular move. And then the other one that I think stands out is the Personal Guard. So Personal Guard is a pretty cool ability. Basically, when you activate a unit, it may move 6 towards a friendly hero. Obviously, if you have a hero in that unit, you don't get to move 6 inches towards yourself. It's another unit. I don't think Personal Guard's pretty cool. I think it's a good cross between the old version where you could just move them an additional 6 inches, and now it's like, well, you can move them the additional 6 inches, but they have to move towards a friend rather than moving towards an enemy. So that's great. Otherwise, yeah, they're still big stompy bastards with their stompy bastard ability. Actually, I do have to cover their Master Destroyer as well, but we'll have a look at the Custodian. So Guardian Boost, Stealth, Aura, Retaliate, Scout, and Fear 3. So, actually, Retaliate's a new one. Retaliate is when you deal damage to the unit, you immediately take X number of hits in return, which is generally 1 for each Custodian in combat. So, and it's this model, not this unit. So, if you wound a Custodian 3 times, he hits you back 3 times. Now, that being said, they've got no AP or anything like that, so it's just sort of like a little bit of a, I don't like you anymore sort of thing. Hey, but the Master Destroyer has a thing that the others don't, and that is Distant Shrouding. So, Distant Shrouding is, of course, enemies get -9 range when trying to shoot units, where all models have this rule. So that's crazy town, guys. I don't think people sort of get just how decent this is. That means a 12-inch range shot becomes a 3-inch range shot. Jeez. Pistols can't be shot at these guys. Legitimately. Like, you have to, even if you're on top of them, you can't shoot them with a pistol. Like say your pistol's one of those really strong 6-inch, like, blast pistols. Nope. Dwarf iron shotguns cannot shoot these guys. It doesn't say to a minimum of 1 inch, which I think it should. If the OPR guys are watching this, maybe change that to minimum 1 inch range so that at least my shooting guys can actually shoot. But yeah, if you're going up against destroyers, you're just going to have to take some guns that have a decent range. But even a 24-inch range, that suddenly becomes a 15-inch range gun. That's nasty, man. And even something like a tank cannon with a 30-inch range, 21 inches, which means you have to get that much closer to the Custodians, and you don't really want to be close to these guys. So yeah, I think that's actually a really cool ability for them, and it also means that they can't be picked off as easily from a huge array of fusion gunfire, because guess what? Most fusion guns are 12 inches, which means they have a 3-inch range, which means you've got to get up to them and not get murdered by them to shoot them. So, yeah, shit. DAO. Deo, Deo, Deo. The man you're looking for is halfway across the battlefield. You just shot him dead. Okay, enough of that. Okay, so they got targeting visor. So I just want to say, I think this is a brilliant move for these guys. I always thought Deo was like Diet Coke's version of Eternal Dynasty, which I don't think is what the intention is meant to be, because what I think the idea behind it is Deo is like regular Coke and Eternal Dynasty is like cherry Coke, right? Different flavors. So these guys actually get a bit of a buff. Targeting visor. If this model shoots an enemy over 9 inches away, it gets +1 to hit. Now this is great because it means that, yeah, you want to be shooting at range, obviously, and you get bonuses. So it incentivizes your staying at ranged playstyle. Also, a lot of things have good shot, so they basically they count as 4s, so 3s for the most part, which is kind of a bit crazy to be completely honest. And then they have their special gun ability, Decimate. Yeah, they also have Decimate, so it ignores cover, not regeneration. And where units have mostly 2 to 3 defense, it gets +2 AP. So this is pretty cool. I think it's on most of their like sort of plasmary weapons. So that's nifty. Now they also still have Precision Spotter. Once per activation, they pick one unit within 36 inches, enemy unit with line of sight, and they roll 1 dice. If they roll 4, they place a marker on it. You may remove markers to get +1 to hit. You don't need to remove them if you don't wish. Just 1 marker now can turn most of their army into 2+ hit shooters. So that's kind of crazy. Targeting visor also has a boost. The boost, though, is not just a +2 hit to rolls. It is that it removes the over 9 inch rule. So still only +1, but you can shoot them point blank in the face if you wish. So let's have a look at their spells. So you get resistance. So Aegis, basically. But the +4 version. Shred, friendly unit gets +1 AP. Shooting, but you pick 2 enemy units, so that's a mark ability. 4 hits with Decimation. Pick up to 3 friendly units, they get targeting visor boost, and 6 hits with Bane. So I think coordinated aggression is pretty freaking cool. But outside of that, I think their spell list is pretty average. Let's have a look at the Drunt Leader. So, yeah, Fortified. Okay, Ranged Slayer Aura. Now, this is a new one. All these other ones I've already seen before. So, Ranged Slayer is basically if a unit has tough 3 or better, and a hit with one of their ranged attacks, they get +2 AP. So, bang, done. You know, big old shot there. Fantastic. Now, I believe the battlesuit is pretty much the same. Yeah, pretty much. Other than the fact that they can ambush, obviously. But yeah, that's pretty much it for Deo. I actually think these guys are way more interesting than they were prior. They've still got their little, like, I'm gonna mark ya, buddy. You know, marker lights, basically. But they get their targeting visor, which really incentivizes you not to get too close to the enemy. Which I think is exactly what they're meant to do. Dark Elf Raiders, oh man, oh boy. Like, I mean, these guys didn't change much since I last covered them. But I'll still cover them here in case you didn't see the original video. So they got Harassing, they can move 3 inches after attacking, basically either shooting or being in melee. That's fine. Lacerate is their special ability. When attacking, it's Bane without the ignore regeneration. So target's got to reroll 6s. If we have a look at their spells, we can see that you pick one enemy within 18, gets -1 to hit rolls when shooting. You get Harass Boost, Shred, 2 hits, Batter. Now Batter's a new one. So you pick up to 3 enemy units. The friendly units get Batter 1 against it next time the effect would apply. And Batter is, for each 6 that the target takes, they take 1 hit with AP 1. So that's an additional hit. I guess it's sort of like Impact, but it's only looking for 6s. So if you have Impact and Batter, you get both. So that's fantastic. You know, and then 6 hits with Lacerate. Okay, but let's have a look at the Dark Lord, because this is where shit gets crazy. So, you know, nothing too crazy, harassing, evasive, unpredictable fighter, but what's this one? Dread Ruler with the Quick Shot Aura. As far as I can tell, only Dark Elves, and I want to say Ratman Clans might be the other one, are the only ones who have this ability. Quick shot is basically you can rush, so you can move your full rush distance of 12, and then you can shoot afterwards. Yeah, that's right, you get a full move and then you can shoot. I just think that's crazy town. Like, that's a strong ability. But guess what, guys? The craziness doesn't stop there with these crazy Dark Elf people. Ruinous Frenzy is still a thing. Ruinous Frenzy is insane. Actually, in fact, any Frenzy ability is just crazy. Basically, whenever it fully destroys a unit, it gets a marker put on it permanently. And until the end of the game, it gets +1 to hit, +1 defense. And it stacks up to a maximum of 2+. Of +2, sorry. Do you want to see... you want to see witches with Space Marine armor and hitting on 2s? Have I got the group of people for you? Yeah, it's crazy just how much this stacks. And I mean, really, even then, it's just... It's like, what am I going to do against witches that have a 3+ armor save, really? Particularly because if you're going up against Dark Elves, you're probably taking things that hit a lot, right? Because they don't have very good armor. Yeah, that's not going to work after a group of witches murders half your back line and then just keep rolling into you. Dwarf Guilds. I love these guys. Dwarf Guilds, they are so much fun. I love these dudes. I just love getting shotguns and just shotgunning my enemy into bits of confetti. So they have a Sturdy. So Sturdy is if they're shot from over 9 inches away or are charged, they get +1 to their defense. So they're just really beefy defensive boys now. And gals, I suppose. And then they all have Fortified, so... -1 AP, basically. Oh, well, not all of them, but a fair few of them have Fortified now, which is just fantastic. And, of course, Melee Slayer, but in melee. Their special ability is basically Magma. It's called Quake, though, now. So, ignores regeneration, and if you roll 1s to block hits, you take an additional wound. Suck on those eggs, basically. Which, of course, is great. They all still have slow, but you can get swift for them. So, fantastic. Let's have a look at their spells. So, Deceleration Wound. Pick one enemy unit, and it gets -9 range when shooting next. Oh boy, that's not a particularly great thing to get hit with. 2 hits of Quake, fantastic. Yeah, this one I really like Battle Rune. So pick 2 friendly units, they get +6 range when shooting. Now, if you are a shotgun man like me, that is a big thing. Particularly if you're packing iron shotguns, which I don't know why you wouldn't be. I suppose if you're fighting like someone like Alien Hives or something like that, you might not be packing iron shotguns. But the extra 6-inch range is like double their range, so that's kind of crazy. 4 hits with AP2, Sturdy Boost. You know, so they get +2 defense, I'm pretty sure, right? Sturdy boost. And 3 hits with Blast 3. Fantastic. You know. Let's have a look at their champion. So Sturdy Boost Aura, pretty straightforward. Swift Aura, increased shooting range Aura, which I think is 6 inches. Yep. Mend, Caster, and Impact Aura, which obviously is Impact. Now, that being said, Actually, no, I know this for a fact. All the dwarves don't get above caster 2, so they're sort of crap spellcasters. But that sort of works with the lore of dwarves. Generally, they're more of a hardy, kick your face in with an axe. Yep, I'm gonna go with that. and use a shotgun on you in this particular scenario. Yeah, otherwise it's all their heat weapons. Now that being said, the reason why I scrolled down is Devastating Frenzy. Yes, they also get a frenzy. This is different though. Whenever they kill something, they get +1 AP, +1 to defense rolls. So they're still not the most accurate dudes on the planet, but they will have a stupidly high defense. And they will also, you know, if you've got iron shotguns, suddenly the iron shotguns are AP 4. I told you the frenzy ones are getting crazy. Now, if you're wondering how deep does the frenzy hole really go, I think that's it. I think it's dwarves and dark elves, from what I can tell. I'm not sure if anyone else will get them. Maybe there's some other units in certain armies that I've missed. But yeah, frenzy abilities are crazy. Oh boy, Elven Jesters. You know, I have this thing that, you know, if you really don't have something nice to say about something, best bet is probably not to say it at all. it's not so much if you're being critical of something and you've got positive things to say as well, you know. Elven Jesters, on the other hand, I don't have anything nice to say about them. If they were a unit in one of the other Alpha armies, fine. Not a problem. Take 1 unit of Elven Jesters. Man, hell, take 2 units. Don't field these guys in an army. They are still awful. They are slightly better than they used to be, but they are still freaking awful. So, let's get into it. So, got Rapid Blink. So, this is the Wolf Brother ability, because you'll see that first. So, basically, whenever the unit's activated, it's like a 3-inch hop, but it doesn't have to follow any terrain rules or anything like that. It just moves 3 inches. Obviously, you can't finish the move inside of a piece of terrain or anything like that. But and they have evasive across the board, so -1 to hit their whole entire thing, and they have fragment, which is kind of like a weird version of crack, sort of. So basically, it ignores cover, and then when most models have defense 2 to defense 4, it gets +1 AP. So, as I said, it's like a weird version of crack, basically. So bash is if you roll X number of dice when it attacks in melee. For each 6, the target takes a wound. Bang, done. Fragment, Rapid Blink Boost, which just increases it to a 6. Deadly 3 and AP 3. That's actually not too bad, that one. Pick an enemy unit and takes 2 hits of Deadly 3 AP 2. And then pick up to 3 models, pick up to 3 enemy units, and the friendly units get Slayer. I know that I should be impressed with that, because it sounds really cool, but how many armies do you know that are just full of tough 3 guys? Like, this would be really good against Custodians, actually. Outside of that, I don't really see how this is going to come up super duper often. You're probably only going to get 1, maybe 2 units. So 2 enemy units, take 3 hits at AP 2. Whoop-de-doo, Basil! Okay, so Takedown Strike is another thing that they sort of only really have access to. I think there are a couple other people who have it, but so once per game, you pick a target in melee, you pick 1 model in the unit, and you make 1 attack at quality 2, AP 2, Deadly 3, and it's resolved as if it's a unit of 1. So there is no knocking enemy unit, and there's no knocking people off the unit or anything like that. And if that, if the unit has regeneration but the leader doesn't, for example, tough shit, Otherwise, Shred when shooting, which, it's Shred when shooting, and then you've got a whole bunch of stuff. Shielded Aura, though, gives it +1 defense, and it's got Caster 2 and 3. Other than that, though, there's really not much else to really say about these guys. Oh, no, Twisted Illusion. This is an important one. Twisted Illusion is another army-wide ability that you have to buy, and it is, to be completely honest, friggin' awesome. It's the one reason why I said take a couple units of Harlequins, but don't take a whole army of them. Basically, Ambush Redeploy is at the end, once per game, where all the models in this rule finishes activation. It may be removed from the table and redeployed as though it had ambush at the beginning of next round. Now, that being said, if you are playing, say, Relic Hunt, where you hold objectives, you drop the objective. So do keep that in mind if you're playing Relic Hunt. Capture an objective point, you vanish, you still keep the captured objective point as per usual. But if you're holding an objective marker, you're gone, it's not. So that could lose you the game. So just keep that in mind. Otherwise, that Elven Jesters, I don't know, guys. I mean, I really want to like these guys. I like Harlequins. I think they're freaking cool. And Elven Jesters, by extension, should be equally as cool. But they're just not. Like, they're not a very good army, basically. I feel like they could be a very good extra unit, but I always feel like they underperform when they're the sole guys who have to deal with shit. Yeah, there's not a lot of options, and I mean, the problem I have is, where is it? Jokers. Jokers, look at these guys. They are so fucking bad. Like, they do have Point Blank, which is at least something. So Point Blank is basically Old Devout. If you so if you're within 12, any 6s get an additional hit. But like, look at this weapon, guys. Yeah, it's got blast, so great. But so like, unless if the enemy unit has high armor, these guys are useless. But I guess you wouldn't take them, hopefully. But like, they've got no options. Like, they've got ambush redeployment, so you only ever take these guys against chaff armies. And then even then, like, because they're a unit of 3, they're just not overly reliable either. They've got to get within 12 inches. They've got, and these guys just don't have the gumption to get into 12 inches, right? It's not happening. Because at least with something like Sisters or Battle Brothers or whatever, they've got stuff that helps them get within that sort of like 12-inch range, you know? You have to stick these guys in a heavy jet bike and hope that the heavy jet bike doesn't get murdered, which it's a heavy jet bike. And then secondly, you then gotta hope these guys don't get murdered when they hop out of said jet bike. And all for an attack that may end up doing pretty much nothing. I mean, as I said, if it's your orcs, something like that, yeah, I could see this. This could be a devastating little thing, but I just always felt like these guys have nothing, right? They're just... okay, Eternal Dynasty. Oh, man. So, in my last video, I talked about these guys, and I talked about how much I enjoyed them, and how great I thought they were. And then OPR decided that they were too much fun, and that they needed to not be so fun anymore. So, Clan Warrior. Primal. They had such a cool ability. At half range, they get +1 AP. It was so cool because it made them stand out. They weren't just, DAO with a different paint job, right? They had their own special thing. Yeah, they have the range. They have good range, but they want to get within that half point. And they just replaced it with Primal. I'm sorry, like, this one is the most upsetting out of all of them. I really freaking enjoyed Eternal Dynasty. And then they come out and they go, oh yeah, we're just gonna do Primal. Look, I can accept Blood Brothers, right? They're an offshoot of the Battle Brother faction. If they end up getting basically Primal, I can live with that. I'm not overly happy about it, but I can live with it. But Eternal Dynasty has its own special thing. It's not an offshoot of DAO. It's its own special slot on the army lists. It should have its own special ability. Look, if the other ability is too strong, fine, but don't just give them Primal, please. Please. Special weapon ability is Puncture. That's right, yep. Ignores regeneration, and against units where most units have tough 3 to tough 9, it gets +4 AP. So this is pretty cool. So like, they're hunting big monsters, and Puncture does pop up quite a bit. Yeah, so they're laser guns. Their laser guns have Puncture, so that's fine. Now that being said, something I did think was really cool. They had this ability called Vengeance, and now pretty much a lot of their guys can take it, which is kind of cool. Which I'll talk about it in their leader section. But let's have a look at their spells first. So they pick one enemy unit. Friendly units get Relentless next time they shoot at it. Take 2 hits with Puncture. Clan Warrior Boost. Sounds on a 5 or a 6. 2 hits with AP2. Pick 3 friendly units to get Furious. And then take 6 hits with Surge. The other thing is that the ability that used to be here in place of Clan Warrior also gave +1 AP when you charged. It actually made some of the close combat guys really cool to use. I now honestly think that with some of the other stuff, it's just easy to use guns. Anyway, let's get into the Dynasty leader. So we got Clan Warrior Boost, Range Scourge Aura, Counterattack, Fearless, Caster 2, of course. And then if we go down here, we've got Honor Bound. So Honor Bound has Vengeance as a special ability. So when the unit is fully destroyed, so your unit with Vengeance, you can place a marker on another one. You can place a marker on the unit that destroyed it, and everyone gets +1 to their hit rolls permanently. It's a designate basically. So that's pretty crazy. This used to get you +1 hit, +1 AP, which I will admit was actually kind of crazy, particularly the AP thing. But I think keep Vengeance in its current form. Get rid of Clan Warrior, bring back the half range at +1 AP. I think that's a much funner ability to sort of get into. Even if you go, well, we're not going to give it on charge. Even though on charge is not that bad. Like, on charge means that you still have to actively do something. But yeah, so that's pretty much where I'm at with these guys now. I'm not happy, guys. I'll be completely honest. This is the one army that I really went from being lukewarm on, honestly, to really freaking enjoying playing. And I just feel like they're going, just fucking Primal now. And as I said at the start of the video, I'm very lukewarm on Primal as an ability, which we'll talk about when we get to Saurian Starhost, I suppose. But I don't think that that's that good of an ability. And to just have a really cool, nifty idea of an ability replaced with Primal, I'm just very unsatisfied about. But I guess we all can't win all the time, so, shit on me, I suppose. Not literally. Don't do that. Alright, Goblins. Now, as I said, these guys are extreme theory, so we'll just have a quick sticky beak at them. So, Mischievous. So, basically, they have faction-wide. Their special abilities their spells aren't anything too crazy, honestly. Ramshackle Crew Old, which I think is actually meant to... There's another ability that I'll cover. I think it's actually meant to be named that for some... it's in beta, guys. You gotta give them a little bit of a break. Their special thing is... Skewer, which is basically tough 3 to 9 units. They hit them, and they deal deadly 3 damage to them. So... I ignores cover. So that's nasty. That's a bit of a nasty pasty. Actually, I think out of all the ones I've read, I think this is the one I would least like to have hit with, because plus 4 AP, but it's like they still gotta wound me 3 times basically. Like they gotta actually hit 3 times for that to be like. But on this one, it's just like I just killed your guy. He's dead. Oh, they also some of their models also have instinctive, which is basically like the unit's uncontrollable, and it goes towards the closest enemy unit, attacks it, and it gets +1 to hit rolls for that pleasure. So cool. Let's have a look at the boss champ, which basically has the same stuff. Surge and shooting, great. Strider, yep, ignores terrain penalties. Evasive and melee. Caster, mischievous boost aura. So basically on 5s and 6s, they got to reroll. And now I figured out, I'm pretty sure that Ramshackle Crew Boost Old is meant to be Mischievous Boost. That's what I was trying to say. So I'm pretty sure it's meant to be Mischievous Boost. Done. Goblin Claimers, I mean, they look fun. I will definitely give them a go. They're starting to release the miniature range, so I'll print them off and we'll have a game with them, and I'll let you know how I feel about them after that. But these guys look fun. Don't really have a problem with them. I do think faction-wide Bane as an ability without ignoring regeneration is sort of a bit... But at least it's not primal. Hey, Havoc Brothers! Havoc Brothers! So basically, Havoc Brothers, it's going to be very similar to the Battle Brother section, basically. They do have their own stuff, though. So they have Havoc Bound. So basically, they have, if they're shaken, they roll a 4, they're not shaken anymore. They stop shaken. They were shaken. And then these guys have Slam. No, don't laugh. It's different from Smash, thank you. Ignores cover, and then on an unmodified result of 1, the target takes an additional wound. They slam you. They slam you real good. Then they're shooting. This one's actually pretty cool. So pick one friendly unit within 12, gets indirect, so -1 to hit, but they no longer get affected by cover. And then they got Cursed Stride, which pick 2 enemy units within 18. They count as being in dangerous terrain until the next time they move, basically. So I actually think that's pretty cool. Otherwise, hits, take 6 hits with a slam, get Fearless. Because obviously they don't have Fearless because there's a lot of cultists. Cultists can go to hell. Let's have a look at our Havoc champions. So Surge, Fearless, Resistance, Caster, Mend, Range, Scourge, and Caster 3. Nothing too crazy, and I think Slam might be on one of their heavier weapons. Let's have a look here. Slam, Reaper Cannon, that's it. So Reaper Cannons aren't just a thing for our change bros anymore. They're for everyone, and they get Slam. So yeah, just Reaper weapons in general. And of course, they're veterans, they're chosen, have versatile attack, just like their Battle Brother brethren. Ex-brethren. Hey, let's have a look at the next guy. So obviously, Change Disciples are probably the most different out of all of them, because everyone can take Caster. well, most of the Change Brothers can take caster. They get change bound, so basically it's stealth. You know, if they're over 9 inches away, you get -1 to hit. That's sort of to represent their, you know, sandy forms, because they're sandy boys. They still have slam, of course. Guys, stop laughing. It's different from smash. Breath of Change, basically is deny the heretics. So pick an enemy caster within 18. It gets -2 to casting rolls. Otherwise, you got fortified, change bound, boost, pierce. Yes. Now, pierce is something that I could only find on change for Battle Brothers, and basically it's just on an unmodified roll of a 6 deals in it. So it's slam basically. It's slam, but it's it doesn't get its slamming ability of ignoring cover. Just Lust Disciples. Now, Lust Disciples are really weird because they got rid of like sort of fast as a general thing. These guys get kind of like half fast. They're like power walkers. So they get Lust bound. So +1 move when advanced. So they have 7-inch move, and they get +1/3 on a rush or a charge. So they're sort of like sort of halfway in between doing it. Other than that, they still have slam. You know, +1 to hit rolls for spells, rapid charge. So that is an extra 4 inches, I think, on the charge. Yep. Yeah, Shatter, ignore regeneration. If tough 3 to 9, AP 2, bang, done. Lustbound boost. Now, Lustbound boost is actually pretty cool. So they get the extra, you know, 2 on advance, 6 on a rush or a charge, which means if someone has both of them, oh boy, that's they're getting you. If they've got both Lustbound boost and the rapid charge, yeah, they're getting you. It's like a 10-inch extra charge range. Yeah, no, that's like 22 inches. Jesus Christ. That's a huge charge range. And then, yeah, most of their stuff, Range Scourge or Fearless, you know. And then for a lot of these now, there's not like going to be a huge staggering amount of things I'm going to cover, unless there's like something that I go, oh yeah, this really makes the difference, guys. This just absolutely wrecks them. I will be bringing up Surge and Melee shortly, though. I'll have more to say when we get to the dudes who actually sort of have both options, weirdly enough. Okay, Plague Disciples. Plaguey boys, so Plague Bound. They have self-repair, basically. On a 6, they ignore a wound. Obviously, they can also get Plague Bound Boost, which is a 5 or a 6. They also get Evasive, and then they get their, you know, pick up to 3 enemy units, difficult terrain. Butcher, now that's a new one. Well, sort of. So, ignore regeneration, and on the unmodified result of a 6, this weapon deals 1 additional hit. So, it's sort of like Surge or Furious, but it also ignores regeneration. So, that's pretty cool. Versatile attack cost still, yep. And then they get regeneration as sort of like their own special little guy ability, you know. Lord of Plague, regeneration. So they get, you know, they're hard to kill, basically. Otherwise, they still, of course, have slam. So, you know, don't worry, guys. They've all got slam. They can all slam you real good. Okay, Warbound. Okay, so basically if enemies roll 1, they take an additional wound. So pretty much it's Hive Assault, but it's on these guys. They still have slam, so they can give Furious, so that's fine. 2 hits with Break. Warbound boost, of course, 1 or 2. 6 hints, Slayer. Pretty straightforward stuff. So here's the confusing part for me. This is exactly where I'm confused. So Lord of War, which is their special source guy. So, get Furious. When charging, unmodified results of a 6 to hit melee deal 1 additional hit. Surge. On unmodified results of a 6 to hit, this weapon deals 1 additional hit. 1 extra hit. So I can pay 20 points for Furious, or I can pay 5 points for Surge in melee. Couldn't I take Surge and then get Wizard to cast Furious on my guys, and then basically get 3 additional hits on like 2 additional hits on a 6 instead of 1. And it costs me less points overall. Because if I took Furious and then took a caster, and then he casts Furious on me, I get nothing. Yeah, I think this is a mistake. I'm gonna put a report in prior to this video about it, but I just find this very funny. It's like, so I can take Surge for 15 less points and get a better version of Furious. Maybe I'm missing something. I don't know. You know, but yeah, that's a weird one. Well, that's Havoc Bros done, basically. High Elf Fleets, my boys, my Elven Brothers, even though they probably wouldn't like me very much because I'm a bit more Dwarven. But I like them. Okay, so we've got Highborn. So basically they get +2 to using advance and +2 when using rush or charge. So they sort of, you know, yeah, I guess they're sort of fast in movement, but only slightly, like they're power walkers when they charge, basically. You know, so they get an 8-inch movement and a 14-inch charge. I'm still fine with this. I still think that's fine. Not a problem. Crack has been upgraded. Yes, thank you. So on an unmodified roll of a 6, it gets +2 AP now. Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong, I see some people going, oh man, I missed the +4 AP, but to be completely honest, I think this is a fair trade. You know, we get a bit more AP, so we're a bit more, you know, a bit more dangerous, but not to the point that we can go up against Prime Brothers and immediately just negate their their armor, right? So that I'm fine with Crack being +2 AP now. It's still a big drop, like 2 to a 4. 4 to a 6, you know, these are large drops. And honestly, if, as I said, you take Retributors, you take a double squad, you give them all the Shard carbines, and oh boy, I tell you what, 25, with a leader, of course, 25 Shard carbine shots. Ooh, you roll a fair few 6s, and they hurt. So yeah, I'm not against this. I think Crack's fine now. Okay, so we've got evasive to shooting. 2 hits with Surge, great. Highborn boost, so basically +4 move, +4 advance, nice. / charge. Sorry, +4 advance, +4 rush or charge. Take 4 hits with Cracks. You know, unwieldy. Now this is something I haven't actually seen pop up again. So basically, you pick 3 enemy units and they get unwieldy, which is reverse counterattack. Basically, they will strike last. Now, I'm not sure how counterattack and unwieldy work together. I'm assuming there's probably something written somewhere about it, but I guess they just cancel each other out, right? So they just strike at normal. Yeah, I'd probably say that's how I'd play it, actually. So if you charged, you just strike as normal, pretty much. Obviously, unwieldy also means that if you... It sort of gives them anti-counterattack for until they attack in close combat. So that's kind of cool. Let's have a look at our Elven Noble. So hit and run shooter, Highborn boost, of course. Bane in melee, so that's fine. Resistance aura, so that's the you know, a new Aegis, as I'm going to call it. Caster 2 and 3, fantastic. And they can give stealth still. You know, leaders can give stealth. That's about it. That's all I got to really say on the elves. I think they're definitely being kicked down a peg from 3rd, but I don't think that they're as badly kicked down as they were when this edition first came out either. They do get a lot of changes though. Highborn has gone through like so many freaking changes. It even had the in-between of the Battle Brothers Battleborn ability, where it was, yeah, +4 to range, +2 to move. Basically, +2 to charge, sorry, and rush. So, it's gone through quite a fair bit, and that was only a couple of days ago, prior to recording this video. So, which is a week before it comes out, basically. Well, not quite a week, but, you know, the week before it is when I'm recording this. I had great high elf fleets. We're, like, over halfway there now. Okay, we're, like, roughly halfway there. Human Defense Force. Oh, what have they done to you, my son? What have they done? I mean, that being said, they have improved some areas, so, but... Oh, here it comes. Hold the line. +1 to morale checks. This is also going through a whole bunch of different ones. The last one I saw was fortified position or something like that. I think they changed it to. And it was like +1 defense if you're within 6 inches of a friendly unit. Which, by the way, I think is infinitely better than hold the line. And then hold the line's also been buffed and nerfed every once in a while. I still think it's crap. Go see my thing on alien hives. You know, go back to that, replay that, and just change alien hives to human defense force. Okay, so they have fracture now, which is on their autocannons. Ignores cover, unmodified rolls of 6 get AP2. Yeah, I think Destructor was cooler personally, but you know, what do I know? I guess it was pretty much rending, but in blast form, which is kind of cool. That being said, I guess Fracture is more unique, I suppose, so I'll give it that. Not insanely unique, but it is, at least it's not just rending, I suppose. The good news is that our friendly leaders here, they've gotten a bit of a boost, but we'll talk about this. So, hold the line boost, Bane. So friendly units get +1 hit rolls when shooting against an enemy unit that's marked. So that's fine, great. This is exactly what I wanted. 6 hits, they get stealth. 3 friendly units get stealth. Pick one enemy unit, take 6 hits with fracture, and then you know roll a dice, but purely to see if you get 6s. Okay, let's talk about leaders. So we've got a whole bunch of buffs now. So what is the difference between buffs and auras? Buffs are basically markers that you mark your own friends with. So entrenched buff is they get entrenched. So if they haven't moved during the round, it's super stealth. So if they're 9 inch, -2 hit rolls. Furious obviously is furious. Rapid advance. So it gets 4 when taking advance actions, which is kind of crazy. It means it has a 10-inch move. That is nuts. Precision shooter, of course. Pick one friendly unit within 12, gets +1 to hit. Thank you for bringing that back. Good job. Caster, and of course coordinate, which is sort of like I don't think any other factions have coordinate, so that's something good. Coordinate is you just, well, okay, there's a caveat to that, but you pick a unit that's already activated. Oh, sorry, no, coordinate. So what happens is when your unit activates, so say your leader activates, he moves, he does all his stuff, he picks a friendly unit within 12 that hasn't activated yet, and it just activates immediately. So it's like a double turn, basically. Now, it may not be used if you use coordination to activate coordination. You know, you can't double coordinate. Yeah, it's only a one-time thing. So that's pretty cool. Also, they have a lot of them have repel ambush now, which is good shit. That needs to pop up a little bit more with how good ambush is. So that's fantastic. Even though I do think ambush is at a slight change, if I remember correctly. Yeah, so now ambush is the units that can't deploy via... units that deploy via ambush can't seize or contest objective markers the round they are deployed. So if you deploy them on round 4 now, you can no longer steal victory. So that's no longer a strategy that's doable. Okay, Human Inquisition. This is why I said coordinate sort of is its own thing. So Human Inquisition, I've got great news for those out there who love the Human Inquisition. I am willing to mark these guys up to a B now. They can probably stand by their own. I still think that a lot of their units are better if you take them as part of detachments, but they actually have enough stuff that I feel it's good to take them by themselves. So, Inquisitorial Agent. This is crazy. So once per game, if all models in the unit have this rule, it may be activated, even though it already activated this round. Up to half the units in the army that have this may only use it. So in a single round. So if you've got, say, 6 units, 3 of them can use it. But this is insanely powerful. This is basically like, yeah, I just get half my army gets a free round of action, basically. Huh? Like, that's it, you know? So, and the thing is that you can use this at any point, you know, it's just like, oh, yes, I'm choosing to activate this guy a second time, back to back. Like, obviously, there's still a, you know, It's not quite coordinate. You don't get a second turn, but it does mean that you could wait until the end of the round and then just go, I'm going to activate that guy, and that guy a second time. And there's really not much they can do about it other than just eat whatever you're going to do. So I think that's, honestly think that's a crazy freaking ability. I honestly think that maybe that needs to be nerfed. Even when I used it in our practice game, like it was nasty. Like being able to use it at the correct moment meant that gain extra objective markers. Also, you stop being fatigued too. So if you fought, you stop being fatigued, and you still get to take your next turn, which means you can fight unfatigued a second time. So yeah, this was just crazy. It gave really good board control, and also if a unit was about to drop dead, like say you positioned a unit and you're like, oh geez, next round that dude is dead. No, he's not. Well, he is, but he can, you know, possibly reposition. Maybe he's not. Maybe he moves out. But I also feel like a lot of these units, like Riot Judges and Breacher Guard, are now the core, and then you've got like all these henchmen. But yeah, you know, I mean, they're not perfect. You know, they don't have great tanks or anything like that. But that's kind of crazy. Now that being said, I couldn't see them having any, you know, special weapon abilities as far as I can tell. They do also have delayed action, which pops up occasionally. So once per round, if your opponent has more units to activate than you may choose to pass your turn instead of activating. Yeah, that's also pretty strong. So yeah, these guys are really good at sort of like taking additional turns and sort of delaying actions so that they, you know, they might end up, you know, going. They can sort of go, oh yeah, no, I don't really want to take an action. I want to see what happens if you have to move that tank, and then I'm going to take my action. Their spells, nothing too crazy. +1 morale test, you know, +1 shooting, 2 hits of Bane, 6 hits, stealth, and fracture. You know, as I said, nothing too crazy. Actually, I think some of the guns may have fracture. Maybe not actually. And then they've got some spell stuff. Let's have a look at our Inquisitor. So precision, delayed action, as we've said. Resistance, precision shooter, and caster 2, and then it's just got, you know, it's just got general stuff. Like, I just think they're a solid army now. You take what you get, but yeah, it is a infected colonies. Let's take a sticky beak. So weirdly enough, infected colonies sort of like infected is Hive assault. Enemies that roll 1 when they try to block a hit take an additional wound. That's just it. Their special ability is Crush, so they ignore cover. Where most models have defense 5 or 6, they get Blast. Fantastic. Panic Virus, -1 to morale checks. 1 hit with Crush. Infected Boost, so 1s and 2s. Bane, of course. 3 enemies get -1/2 hit rolls next time they attack. And then 3 hits at AP2, Deadly 3, which is actually pretty friggin' crazy when you think about, you know, you hit a unit of destroyers and suddenly the unit's dead. So, now, these guys are, yeah, this is an interesting one. We're going to take a look at both the Tyrant and the Infected Leader. So we've got Fortify Thrust in melee. So Thrust is probably a new one. When you charge, you get +1 hit rolls, +1 AP, so it's basically Lance. No Retreat, of course. You pass it, you know, it's no retreat, which Human Defense Force have as well, I should probably mention. So, no retreat is obviously, if you fail a check, you can instead roll dice on each one of you guys. On a 1 to a 3, they drop dead. No regeneration or anything, I'm pretty sure. And yeah, that's it. So, but you pass your leadership check regardless. I still think this is a shit ability. I know some people out there go, oh, you know, this is actually really good. This is a really strong ability. And I can see where that's coming from, but I also don't really like abilities where if you roll badly, your whole entire unit drops dead. I'm not a big fan of that. But I understand why it's strong too. Unpredictable shooter. It's unpredictable, but it's with shooting. Yep. Caster 2, obviously, and Infected Boost Aura. So, you know, they get Infected Boost. Yeah, so that's it. Monstrous Tyrant is pretty much fairly similar, being at Caster 3, and he's got Fast Aura, so he just becomes fast. Yeah, Fast does still exist, guys, by the way. Maybe it sounded like I said that fast wasn't existing. Vehicles have fast still. Most flat units don't. So bikes and stuff like that are fast. I'm pretty sure very fast went the way of the dodo. I have not seen it pop up yet. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there's some type of tank somewhere that's very fast. Yeah, obviously aircraft are still very fast, but that's about it. That's Infected Colonies in a nutshell. They're fun. I actually really like Infected Colonies. Also, dressing them up like Resident Evil guys is fun. But yeah. No, they're just a fun little army to play. I don't think they're anything spectacular. Like, they're not, you're not gonna take them to a tournament and just clean house. But maybe with Inquisitors you might. But yeah, with Infected Colonies, no. I just think they're a very fun, solid army. Jackals, the J-Dogs, the Egyptian bros. I don't know. Okay, so Scrapper. Yeah, so Scrapper is Bane without. So basically mischievous. Yeah, I know. I'm not. This is what I mean when I said there's too many abilities that sort of. But I'll take it. Well, they got Surprise Piercing Shot, which they already had. It was known as Charged Ammo. Charged Ammo is the unit counts have an ambush. When they deploy, they get +2 AP for that round alone. Bang, that's it. So ambush, +2 AP on their guns. It can be pretty devastating, but it can also end up big nothing burger. Destructive, on a unmodified result of 6 to hits, they get +4 AP. So that's their sort of special gun ability. They also have Crossing Strike and Crossing Attack. So basically, with Crossing Attack, once per activation, they move through an enemy unit, pick one of them, roll X number of dice on each 6. So like when I say pick one of them, I mean if you cross like 4 enemy units, you pick one of those guys, and then for each 6, they take an additional hit. They just take a hit. And then Crossing Strike is once per game. Once during its activation, this model moves through enemy units, pick one of them, and it takes 3x times 3 at AP 1. So it's basically just Crossing Attack, but better. I really don't think. I've never thought that this one, which is also called Strafing and a couple other things, has never been a freaking great ability. Obviously, airplanes, like fighter jets and shit, yeah, great. Because you're flying, you're not getting in combat with anyone. But the only time this comes into account with a lot of other armies is if you fly over an enemy unit and then shoot or charge a different enemy unit. Now, most of the time, the problem is say you're like swooping hawks or something like that, and you've got like your guns, but you've only got a 8-inch move or whatever. It's like, well, I need to get over the top of the enemy unit and then be able to shoot it. And most of the time, it's just better just to shoot it. So, that's about it. Let's have a look at their spells. -1 to morale. Now Scratch. Scratch pops up a couple of times. Where most units have tough 3 and 9, +2 AP. Scrapper Boost, so 5s and 6s. 2 hits with AP1. Quick Shot, as we already said. You can move your full rush distance and then shoot afterwards. Great ability. 10 out of 10 ability. And then 6 hits with Surge. Let's check out our veterans. So we've got Precision Fighter, so +1 to hit and melee. Caster, Unpredictable Shooter. Scrapper Boost, and Distant Shrouding. So, shrouded enemies, -9 to range when they're shooting at them. I mean, shrouded units. And then you can, of course, tag for precision attacks. So this is Designate, basically. So pick one enemy units and put X markers on it. Except tag is slightly different again. Tag is kind of like spotter lights. So like your spotter tokens. So they get taken off as used, but you get to put them on at the start of the game. And you get 2 of them instead of 1. So, nice. Nice. Otherwise, yeah, that's about it for them. Yeah, look, I think Jackals are fun to play, but I also think they're crap. Sorry, Jackal fans, but I just, you have to get lucky with them. And it's something that, while I find fun to play with as an army, I can understand why other people would tear their hair out. And sometimes it's just in the pits with Jackal games. I had 3 games with them, and 2 of them went absolutely horrendously. The first one went so good, I was like, man, why don't I play these Jackals guys more? They're super fun. I love them. And then I played the next 2 games, and I'm like, Now I remember why. So yeah, Jackals are fun, but I wouldn't take them to win anything. Machine Cults, guys, I have great news for all the Machine Cult fans out there. All, what, like 100 of you maybe? These guys are pretty good now. I've moved them up to B. Up to B tier they go. I joke. I actually think Machine Cults are freaking cool, just for the record. Okay, so they've got basically Machine Fog, so they got Stealth permanently. So over 9 inches away, -1 to hit. Fantastic. They have, basically it's Phosphorus, but it's called something else. What do they call it now? Oh, except they changed it. No, that's right. Yeah, no, never mind. Ignore me. They have Rec, which is, ignores cover, and when a target, target's got to reroll unmodified defense results of 6. So let's have a look at the things. So we've got Corrode. So enemy units lose 1 AP when shooting next. That could be nasty. Hits with Blast, +1 to morale checks, 4 hits with Wreck, Machine Fog Boost, and 6 hits with AP 2. Let's have a look at our friend, the High Priest. So we've got Machine Fog Boost, Mend, Shielded Aura, Rending when shooting, and Melee Slayer. Rending when shooting is actually kind of nuts. So that ability alone, like, you do Rending, and then you've got your Wreck as well, which is on the P weapons, so P repeater, P pistol, stuff like that. They shoot you with their P. No, I'm pretty sure it's phosphorus. Super Circuit full of urine. That's what's going to get the enemies really fucked up. Rending when shooting is pretty good, and Melee Slayer, when you take it on, if you take it with the Shock Priest and stuff like that, you're probably looking at pretty good stuff. Otherwise, Versatile Attack can pop up with a few of these guys. So that's and Teleport Aura. That's one of the other ones they get. I knew I clicked on this guy for another reason. Yeah, just being able to do Teleport. Fantastic. And yeah, I mean, look, I think these guys are much better. They got much more sort of weapon options now, and well, they don't really have much more weapon options, but their weapons are more varied, which is nice. I like that. And they also just seem to have much better sort of overall abilities. They still do have their Taser, which is just, Taser Gauntlet with Surge. So they still have that. But I just feel like they're not quite as reliant on, hopefully the enemy rolls 1s. And that's our strategy. Which turned out to not be a terrible strategy sometimes. But also other times it's just like, yeah, I sort of end up a bit screwed here. So Machine Cults, much better, got a big buff in my personal opinion, and I'm looking forward to playing these guys a few more times. I thought they were fun, and it's nice to know that you don't just have to take cyborgs to make their army half decent now. But we're in the bottom half now, guys. Orc Marauders, I think, are still brilliant. They're still definitely an A-tier army. They're fun to play. So they're ferocious now, which is basically army-wide surge. So they get it when they're attacking on any level. So there's no extra shooting and furious and all that, even though I think you can give them furious from memory. But yeah, so there's no sort of extra, there's no worrying about sort of having 3 different abilities that do the same thing for orcs anymore. They're still, of course, all bad shots. Sucks to be them, I suppose. So that's something. And then they've got, they've got Bash, but Impale is their big one. On their weapons. Impale, of course, we've talked about before. Against units where most models have tough 3 to 9, the weapon is deadly 3. Yeah, kind of nasty. Otherwise, they have pretty much straight stuff across the board. They don't really stand out anything. Of course, Bash. When this model attacks in melee, roll X dice. It takes a wound. Each 6 takes a wound. As far as their spells go, Regeneration's always a nice one. Friendly units get Bash +1. Cool. Ferocious Boost, which is nice. And Impale, which is, Impale is Impale. Fantastic. Let's have a look at their leaders. So we'll have a look at our veteran leader here. So we've got Courage Aura, which, as I said, I'm actually fine with that. I know people are like, oh, you're going to shit on this one now. No. I'm just not fine with faction-wide +1 morale. +1 morale as an upgrade, I'm fine with. Ferocious Boost, Mend, Unpredictable Shooter, Distant Shrouding Caster 2. Otherwise, pretty much, they got all their regular stuff. Harpoon, Rocket, Shock Cannons, which are still nasty, particularly because you can take them with your Specialist still. and they start with ferocious boost. So you give them shock cannons, and oh boy, suddenly they're in a really good spot. And I'm pretty sure berserkers get piercing fighter aura. I could have sworn they got furious. Yes, I'm wrong. Oh, the possibility they changed it yesterday. That's always a possibility too. My memory's not that good. It's pretty friggin' good. But yeah, ferocious. I think out of all the armies that could have ended up with ferocious as a thing, I think orcs deserve it the most. They should be nasty little bastards in close combat, and also they should kind of like have guns that do ridiculous damage but never hit, basically. That's the idea, you know. They have guns, thanks to Surge and Ferocious, that do ungodly amounts of damage, but, you know, they got to actually hit the frickers. But yeah, I think they're fun. They're unpredictable, which, you know, suits them fine. Prime Bros. Okay, so the good news is that for the most part, we can pretty much just go over the regular Prime Brothers here. The other ones, basically just prime versions of the Battle Brothers. So, but we will talk about the basic one, but, you know, other than some minor spell list differences, they're pretty much the same. So, we've got, of course, Battleborn still, so no big change there, but they have their special thing, which is not Smash, guys, it's Demolish. So, they ignore cover, and on tough 3 to 9 units, the weapon gets plus 2 AP. So it's still on their gravity guns though, just like the Battle Brothers. Otherwise, yeah, you know, see Strider, Demolish, Evasive, Unstoppable. But basically the only thing is that instead of saying Smash, it says Demolish. That's it. Versatile attacks they still got. And, you know, each one of the special ones still have their sort of, you know, special own little, like, you know, blood captain or whatever it happens to be, individuality. So, but other than that, these guys are pretty much exactly the same as they've sort of been. As here we go, Furious. See, Furious is still makes an appearance every once in a while. So, and that's about it. I can't really say too much more about the Prime Brothers. You know, they're tankier, they're hard to kill, but they cost more. But they're also less flexible. I'm pretty sure they're still... Let's just double check the Prime Brother squad. Yeah, some options that they've got are a bit nastier. That's it for Prime Brothers, and as I said, I'm not going to cover all of them because just go back and watch my other part. So what I need to do is I need to go back to watch Wolf Brothers or whatever, and then just take the front bit of this Prime Brothers section and staple on the Wolf Brothers to the end of it. So, Ratman Clans. Ratman. They're the old rat boys. Yeah. I mean, I didn't get to play with these guys too much in 3rd. I still didn't get to play with them too much in 3.5 either. But, Scurry. So, basically +2. So, it's Highborn. I mean, I don't hate this. I don't know. I feel like... Maybe they could have gone with some sort of like, you know, up to half their units can ambush, up to half their armies can be an ambush. Yeah, I think that's what I'd pick for these dudes, so that they've got that, they can have really decent ambushes and they can sort of spread them out. You know, the idea they're coming out of the ground, man, they're crawling out of their holes. These little rat dudes, just making them elves. I don't know, that doesn't do much for me. But, you know, what do you take? Even though they do have reinforcement, which I will cover shortly, because that's kind of crazy. They also have takedown strike, as I previously mentioned. Quick readjustment's pretty cool. They ignore the penalties from shooting after moving with indirects. So that's pretty cool. And they've also got heavy impact, so, you know, AP 1. But hazardous is their special gun ability. All their plasma guns have this. It just gets AP 4. That's it. We'll fly across the board. It's just AP 4. Yeah, I know. It's brilliant. Problem is that it follows Gets Hot from earlier editions of Warhammer. So if you roll a 1, the gun blows up in your face. That's it. That dude's probably dead. I like it, though. It adds a lot of flavor to the faction. I suppose we can talk about reinforcement now. You know, I teased it. This really only affects a certain number of rat units. I think they're the operators, I think. Yes, operators. And I don't think leaders can take it, but I'll double check just quickly. Yeah, no. Alright, so reinforcement is basically taken by the operator units, which are some of the worst units in their army. If the unit is shaken or fully destroyed, you can remove it from the table as destroyed, and place a new copy of it within 12 of any table edge at the beginning of the next round. It counts as ambushing, but it's after ambushes have been deployed, so it's sort of like ambushing ambushes, I suppose. Units that are deployed can't seize or contest objectives the round they were deployed. So for half the cost of a unit, you can have an endless supply of whatever that unit happens to be, as long as, of course, it's operators or elite operators. So that's pretty cool. We'll have a look at our rat men here. So takedown, strike, evasive and melee, scurry, boost, rending, precision shooting, fear, caster 2 and 3. Oh, we didn't look at casting. +1 to hit rolls. I actually always like this with armies that don't have the greatest hit rolls. Pick an enemy within 12, takes 3 hits. Scurry boost. An enemy takes 4 hits with hazardous, which, yes, that means that if you've got to roll, and hopefully don't roll ones, or else your spellcaster's brain explodes, basically. Pick 3 enemy units, -1 to defense rolls. That's nice. And then take 3 hits with AP2 and Deadly 3, which I always think is a nice little ability there. Pretty good. Yeah, I think these guys are really cool now. I really like the operator sort of ability in the elite operators. They were really fun to sort of play with and just have them sort of endlessly come onto the field. You might think that that's really overpowered. It actually really isn't. Operators and elite operators aren't like fantastic units. Elite operators can get some shit done, but operators generally are just like contest objective guys. And if they get murdered round 3, they're pretty much almost near useless to bring them in round 4. That's not always true, but for the most part, they're probably not going to get as much done as they could do. But it is nice to sort of just have this unit where you can just be like, yeah, let's just throw this guy to the wolves and see what happens. Attrition, baby. That's where I'm at. So yeah, I think these guys are fun. Yeah, I don't have a problem with them. Rebel Guerillas, which is funny because they do actually have real gorillas in this too, like real alien gorillas. Yeah, I really like these guys in third. They play like this really weird ambushy human defense force army that sort of also doesn't get a lot of the benefits. So we've got Guerrilla, which is basically harass. They can move up to 3 inches after shooting or being in melee. So fantastic on that one. That's never a bad ability, honestly. And then they have Thrash. So defense 5 and 6 guys, better watch out because they get hit with blast 3. So that's, that pops up quite a bit. They also have tag for piercing attack, and then a surprise piercing shot, which you may remember as the Jackals sort of thing. So unit counts 7 ambush, and they get +2 AP for shooting in the round it deploys. Okay, after searching, it's just the snipers that get this, which is fine. I mean, that's who you want it to be on, honestly. Anyway, let's have a look at their heroes. So we're going to look at both these guys. So we've got the Rebel Leader, straightforward guy. Takedown Strike, Courage Aura. But at least it's an upgrade you can pick. Rapid Charge Aura, Guerrilla Boost, Bane in Shooting, and Caster 2. Otherwise, nothing too crazy on these guys. You can get a Spotting Beacon, so tag for piercing attacks. So once again, you got to remember that tag is spotting, basically, so you place the marker down, they get removed. And then we've got our Simian Champion, who has Rapid Charge, Courage, Guerrilla Boost, and Regeneration. Can also get tags for piercing attacks. Now, the Simians are pretty cool, actually. They're just really big monkey dudes who hit things. And then, any grenade launcher, cluster grenade launchers get Thrash. Yeah, nice. They got a nice little selection of things. Nothing too insane here, but they're really meant to be sort of like hit and run, moving in and out kind of guys. They're not really meant to be stand and deliver sort of fellas. Robot Legions. The boys closest to my own heart. My own mechanical heart. Wait, what? Sorry? Alright, so self-repair. On a 6, they ignore the wound. But they also have super self-repair, which is basically just free regeneration. So fantastic. But they also get reanimation, which is something that I'll bring up. But what do we have on their weapons? We have destructive. So on the roll of a 6 to hit, weapons get AP4. This is all their Gorse weapons. So they don't ignore regeneration, but AP4 is sort of crazy town. Gorse weapons are a bit on the expensive side, of course. Okay, so we've got Fearless. Yep, great. 2 hits with Destructive. Friendly units get Indirect. Fantastic. Self-Repair Boost, which is, you know, good shit. All right, now let's get into the real guts of this, right? So Stealth, Ambush, Relentless, great. No Retreat. Yep, Caster, but Reanimation. What the is that, Vamps? What in the God's name of hell is that? I don't know. So each turn you may roll a dice for each missing wound the unit has. On a 5, you bring one of those models back, or wounds back, whichever one it is, and you roll it for each missing wounds up to the max number. So basically it's will be back. Yeah, it's will be back. Damn. Like, now obviously only leaders can take this ability, so you won't have to deal with a whole entire army of guys just crawling back up. But if you want the unit gone, you basically got to kill the leader, which, you know, generally is the hardest guy to kill. That's generally how the unit works. Otherwise, yeah, nasty little boys, robot legions. These little metal skeleton bastards, even though they're not really skeletons, I guess they're more moon these crescent moon shaped head bastards. Yeah, these guys are nasty. I've played as them, I've played against them, and I honestly feel sorry for my opponent when I play against them, because you can get I think you can get 4 heroes now in 2,000 points. So that's 4 units that are very, very difficult to kill overall. You pretty much have to wipe them out. And like, yeah, try Scorpions. Oh boy, are they hard to kill now. And then when I played against them, it felt like punching a brick wall. I still won, but I definitely, if the battle had gone another turn, I don't think I would have. It was really funny because I thought about dropping them down to A tier for a little bit every once in a while, but I think they're definitely going to be S tier with reanimation protocols now. So good for you, Robot Legions. But we'll see what happens. We'll see if the Inquisition kick you in the face. Hey, Saurian Starhost. Hey, let's get the Bugbear. Yeah, they've got Primal. They got Primal. That's their ability. But you know what? At least it's their ability. Like, I feel like Primal is their ability. I don't think much of Primal, as I've previously said in the video. When I'm editing this together, I might cut one of the sections out where I shit on Primal. Look, the problem is that there's only one positive about Primal, and that is if you have a rending weapon or something like that and you roll a 6, you get the additional hit, right? Like, or if you have a unit of Gators that have Furious and they stack Primal, it means that they get the 6, they get the additional hit, they get to re-roll. If they roll a 6 again, they get another additional hit from Furious. That's cool, but like, I mean, the problem is that they've got to hit first, and honestly, Saurians just aren't the greatest army at hitting things. I feel like this ability would be fine on something like Battle Brothers, where, you know, 66% of the time you're going to get an additional hit. On these guys, it's like 50-50, you might end up with an extra hit. I don't know, yeah. Don't get me wrong, their leaders are fine for that kind of stuff. But, like, look, even the Gators 4, Saurian Veteran is 3, yeah, Gecko 5. I mean, at least Geckos have Primal now, but this guy's barely ever going to get an additional attack. So, yeah, I don't know. And then, let's have a look here. We've got Disintegrate. This is actually a pretty cool one. So, Ignore Regeneration. Against units where models have Defense 2 or 3, they get AP 2 against them. So, yeah, that's fine. I don't have a problem with that. Spells, Faithful Guidance, +6 range when shooting. Cast this on Geckos, and yeah, you got a little nasty pasty unit. Cast it on Saurian Warriors, you've got a unit that's crapper at further range. I don't think much of Saurian Warriors. 2 hits was Disintegrate, great. Pick 2 enemy units, friendly units get Bane, fine. 4 hits with AP 4, Primal Boost. And pick one enemy unit within 12 that takes 9 hits. Well, I'm sure people are going to come out and be like, Primal's not that bad, Vamps. And you're probably right. I always find that it's just not as good as Surge. In a world where Surge exists, I just don't see the point in Primal most of the time. As I said, unless for those very specific situations I just talked about. Speaking of which, let's have a look at our Saurian. So, hit and run shooter, rapid charge, counterattack, rending when shooting. This is probably the one thing that makes Saurian Warriors not complete garbage. Because you put one of these guys in a unit of Saurian warriors, give them more carbines, and suddenly it's a lot of shots with rending, right? Of course, they get the Tyrannosaur still. Fantastic. Now, here's the other thing. Sacred Destiny. So this is a faction-wide ability that I think pretty much everyone can get. Geckos might not. I'll double-check. Once per game, when this unit takes wounds, it basically gets regeneration for free, which is great. So, for each wound, you roll a dice. On a 5+, it's ignored. This stacks with regeneration. This stacks with any other ability. So that's cool. There's only once per game, but pretty much almost everyone in their army can take it. So, and it's cheap. 5 points. That's pretty good on a Saurian veteran. But yeah, and then we have a look at our Gator veteran. So we've got Primal Boost. Oh no, they got Furious. Oh, I take it back. Yeah. Primal Boost, Rapid Charge, Hit and Run, and Rending when shooting. Still the same as the other one. They upgraded the missile pod again. Cool. Excellent. They really screwed the missile pod up at one point. So hopefully that means normal gators also get there. Yeah, 1 AP is not terrible. Heavy shooter. Overall, I'll check, make sure geckos get it. Yeah, geckos get it too. Fantastic. Obviously, they have a couple of extra things. They get caster, so fantastic. I suppose we should look at the frog mage. I don't think it gets anything. Rending while shooting, +1 caster, counterattack, primal boost, hit and run shooter. Yep. Fortified. It's got a disintegrate weapon. Fantastic. Saurian warriors. As I said, I probably take these guys with a Saurian veteran and give them rending. This then makes sense, right? I think that makes way more sense. And then, take a beam gun or a flamer or something, or a shock charger, I don't know. But other than that, yeah, I just think these guys aren't a very good unit. I wish they were. Just for the record, I love Saurian warriors. I think they look amazing. It's just a shame that they're not a very good unit. Like, look, pistols, close combat weapons, carbine, no AP, and then they've got 4 choices of additional weapons that are like the beam gun's not terrible. The beam gun's basically a fusion, and the flame is not terrible, but the spike shooter is a terrible choice to replace an extra weapon with, and the shock charger is also half decent, but AP4 on a gun, I mean, yeah, I don't know. I might cut this part out. I like Saurian Starhost. I enjoy playing them. They're fun. But Saurian Warriors just suck. And Primal, I will put down as not being the greatest of abilities. So that's fine, though. So Soul-Snatcher Cults, I keep forgetting they exist. So this is another one that's... so these last 3 are in theory. So I could totally understand that if you're happy with what you've seen, and now they've only got the theory armies left, that you decide to, go, yeah, Vamps, I'm not going to watch this last bit. That's great. There's going to be no massive... I'm not going to be like, hey guys, here's the thing that's going to change the way you play. Perfect strategy every time. There won't be any of that at the end of the video. So if you want to fuck off, great. Go nuts. Soul-Snatcher Cults. Yeah, I mean, these guys seem better than they were before. Fanatic is kind of nice. So when this model is deployed, it may be placed fully anywhere within 9 inches of its position. So... that means pretty much you've got an extra 9-inch deployment zone. Right? And then you can also get Scout on guys with Fanatic. So that's like generally what happens is that for most games, pretty much you have like a 12-inch deployment zone. And then you have 12 inches that touch in the middle. So 24-inch zone and then 12 inches on either side. So 48 inches across. That means that their guys can be 3 inches from your deployment zone. That's kind of crazy. Now, that being said, I don't think that these guys are anything spectacular, so maybe they don't want to be 3 inches from the deployment zone, but they could be. So Reap is their special gun ability or their special weapon ability. Against units where most models have defense 2 or 3, this weapon gets +2 AP, so... also just a solid, nice little gun ability. Yeah, so let's have a look at their leader. So we've got redeploy is the big one here. So redeployment is basically once all your units are deployed, you can move up to 2 friendly units from the table and deploy them again. You still alternate. So, you know, if you say you've got like 6 units, they've got 8, and you go, oh, I'm going to redeploy these 2 guys, it still goes like pew, 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 pew. So you don't get to completely cheat, but if you've got equal number units, then you kind of get to sort of go, oh well, actually I want my tank to be in line with your tank to try and get that shot off, or vice versa. You know, if you know you're going second, you go, I don't want to leave my tank in line of sight of your tank, so I'll move it. So that's kind of nice. And yeah, basically I think they're mostly the same. Yeah, obviously a little bit less castery from the Supreme Leader. A Brute Champion, I think, is a bit... yeah. Well, Brute Champion is a bit more close combat based, but otherwise, yeah. Otherwise, they're sort of a mix of a bit of a human defense force with alien hives. No crazy sort of difference here. Let's get to Titan Lords. Actually, you know what? Let's cover Wormhole Demons very quickly first. Wormhole Demons pretty much have the same abilities as their Havoc brother stuff, but they got demons. Otherwise, they're mostly the same. I think they got their own, like, you know, special sort of attack. They got, like, I think it's Pierce. I think Pierce is their special thing, possibly. Oh, Split is actually something that's... oh, yeah, so I will cover Split quickly. So Split is only for change demons, pretty much from what I can tell. And that's basically when a unit's fully destroyed, it splits into the next level down unit. So if it's a greater sort of group of demons, it becomes like a minor group of demons, and then a lesser, and so on and so forth, until it's completely wiped out. So yeah, but other than that, yeah, Wormhole Demons are pretty much most of the stuff that I said about the Havoc disciples you can apply to these guys, but they're demons. I know Wormhole Demons fans. I know that you're not happy with that. Sorry, like, but you know, this video is already like over 2 hours long, guys. I need to cut it off at some point. So Titan Lords. Man, Titan Lords. Okay, so the good news is that they are better. Honor Code is pretty crap for them. So if they're shaken on a 4+, they're not shaken anymore. But we've got this guy. So there's no heroes. So actually, let's get the spells out of the way first, then I'll talk about this sort of thing. So pick one unit within 12, +1 morale test, 2 hits of Bane, pick 2 enemy units, friendly units get +1 to hit, 6 hits, get stealth, and fracture. Fantastic. But this is the guy I want to talk about. The Vassal Micro Titan at 200 points. Now, I haven't played Titans in a while, so this could be actually in third anyway, but this is the first time I saw it. And, they also have Fortified, sorry, I should probably mention. They all have Fortified, so -1 to AP, which I think is good on these guys. But anyway, the Micro Titan is 200 points. It's a nice little prick, to be completely honest. Honestly, upgrade with any of these. Oh, they got delayed action as well, which is great for Titan Lords, just for the record. I think delayed action will help them a lot. And of course, they've got their Disciple. I really think they need to change these, though. I gotta say, I understand where they're coming from with it, but I think just some more generic names, and then if someone wants to be, like, you know, Havoc Infected Titan, they can just say, oh yeah, even though it's like, you know, Discipline of, like, Love or something like that, they're actually the Disciple of Lust, you know. Maybe instead of saying Disciple, make it like the Discipline of, like, Love, and like or maybe like the Code. Yeah, go with Code, I reckon, since they're meant to be kind of like knights. Code of Love, you know, what would you say? Plague. Code of Steel. Code of Stealth. Yeah, something like that. And then, like, Code, this could say as War. Code of War, that would be fine. And then, you know, if people, as I said, want to change this up, because, you know, I don't think everyone wants to play a Chaos Titan, sorry, a Havoc Titan anyway. But anyway, yeah, so these guys, they got all their special Titan bulltrap, but they're like 200 points. Now you actually field, like, say, 5 of these guys, and then maybe take, like, 2 of these guys, and then you've got a squad of 6, and then just sort of, you know, tweak it a little bit here and there. Or you could take, like, maybe, like, 3 of these, 2 of these, and then sort of, you know, tweak the point costs, and then you may end up with a half-decent army at 2,000 points. I still think that, you know, 5 units is way too little for 2,000 points. Weirdly enough, I do think that these guys would work pretty well in a 1,000-point game, though. Because you could probably take 3 vassals and then upgrade them and then just field them. And 3 versus at most 5 might not be crazy, but yeah, you know, if 5 versus even 7 or 8, you're gonna struggle. Delayed action, I think, is gonna help though. Just being able to go, no, I'm gonna let you take a second turn, and then decide who I'm gonna murder. I think the big problem with Titan Lords is that you've got to get a good couple of like. Your first 2 turns have got to be good turns. You've got to hopefully not lose any Titans, and you've got to be able to kill probably at least 2 to 3 enemy units. And then I think you're pretty much sitting pretty. I think the Micro Titans will definitely help. But that being said, I also think if you took like Human Defense Force and you just took like 3 Errant Titans, for example, and then just took a whole bunch of Conscripts, recruits, and then just you can shoot the recruits, that's fine. They're just there to take space up. I think that's much more effective than trying to fill an army full of Titans. But that's it, guys. Oh boy, that took ages. I'm gonna have fun editing this one together. Look, I really appreciate the fact that you possibly watched this whole entire 2-hour and 15-minute video. Thank you so much. If you've just skipped through and looked at your favorite armies, also great, no problems there. And yes, these will be what's it called? It's been 2 hours, guys. My brain is fried. My voice is croaky. I'm sore. There will be chapters. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for joining me. Turns out talking for 2 hours is a bit crazy for me, particularly non-stop. I'm gonna go take a strepsil and probably go to bed. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for joining me. I hope you have a great day, week, month, year, however long. I hope you have great times all the time, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye. Hey everyone, quick message after editing. That took a fair while. I just wanted to say that, remember, these are beta rules, so don't take anything super duper seriously yet. Let's wait until 3.5 gets fully released before we do anything crazy. And secondly, I know I got a bit spirited during some of these sections, but I just want to say that I have full respect for the one-page rules, guys. I think they're doing a great job overall. And I just think that, I have no complaints about how they're handling things. Obviously, I have some minor complaints about some of the army lists, but I'll live if they don't get changed. So, anyway, that's all I wanted to say. Remember to keep a positive attitude, and we'll keep moving forward. And remember, they've got to try and please a lot of people, so some people are going to be displeased by the end of the day. Anyway, have a good one, and I'll catch you on the next video.